Greetings, friends. One of my all-time favorite publishers is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And so Sarah over at the channel Roadworthy and I are teaming up to create what we're calling Gray in May, a month-long celebration of books published by one of the leading independent publishers in the United States, Graywolf Press. So we have a few activities planned to celebrate Graywolf's 50th anniversary, but one of the fun things that we're going to be doing is reading 5 Graywolf books specifically. I'll probably be reading more than that in May if I can, but there are 5 books that Sarah and I will be reading and talking about here on YouTube and also over on an incredible Discord community that we have going. And those 5 books were actually nominated and voted on by that Discord community just this past month in April. And so I'm here today to share what those 5 books are in case you would like to follow along in any way you're able to. So whether that's just watching our videos as we talk about these books, or maybe you want to pick up one or more of the books yourself to check out in May or at another time, I'm here to share what those 5 books are. And I'm saving the book that I'm personally most excited for last. Graywolf was actually the first independent publisher that I was introduced to a very long time ago. I won't tell you exactly how long ago it was, but I was 22 or 23 at the time. And I was in a writing program, and one of my instructors in that program had a book published by Graywolf. So of course I looked this author up and I saw Graywolf and I saw their catalog online, and this was way long time ago. So it was really clunky website, but I was just amazed by this concept of this independent publisher putting out all of these. I was most drawn to the short story collections at the time, but just incredible looking and sounding books. So it was really from there that I learned what it meant to be an independent publisher, and I started to learn what kind of independent publishers I was drawn to, and that was the starting point for me for a love of these incredible smaller publishers who are really dedicated to works of high literary merit. Graywolf publishes such an incredible range of work. They are so well known for the incredible poetry that they publish. So I'm going to be on my own reading a bunch of Graywolf poetry in May, but they also have phenomenal nonfiction. Their essay collections are so amazing. They publish incredible novels, including wonderful novels in translation. And the thing that I think I love Graywolf most for are their short story collections. My favorite short story collections of all time are from Graywolf. So that's my personal attachment to Graywolf. But of course, this was a group voting process. And I think we have a good variety. There's no poetry and there's no short story collections in this list, but that's okay, because I know I'm going to be reading those on my own already. So this actually worked out perfectly. So let's dive in. I didn't have too much time to prepare notes for this, so I'm actually going to be reading from the descriptions that Graywolf gives online for each of these books here. So forgive me for doing that. First up is The Collected Schizophrenias, and this is by Esme Weijun Wang. This is a book that I have wanted to read for a really long time, so I'm very excited that this was voted in. So this is a work of nonfiction, and it says, an intimate, moving book written with the immediacy and directness of one who still struggles with the effects of mental and chronic illness. The Collected Schizophrenias cuts right to the core. Schizophrenia is not a single unifying diagnosis, and Wang writes not just to her fellow members of the collected schizophrenias, but to those who wish to understand it as well. Opening with a journey toward her diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder, Wang discusses the medical community's own disagreement about labels and procedures for diagnosing those with mental illness, and then follows an arc that examines the manifestations of schizophrenia in her life. So again, this is something that I've had on my radar for a while and have been looking forward to reading, so I'm excited. Let's jump to fiction. So I am very excited about the next one. It's a novel called Grief is the Thing with Feathers, and it's by Max Porter. I actually just finished reading this book, and I'm going to be rereading it in May. It's very slim, so totally doable. It was as good as I had been told that it was going to be. So excited that this made the list. So Grief is the Thing with Feathers is about a man, a scholar, and kind of a scruffy romantic who is set adrift in the wake of his wife's sudden accidental death. And then there are his two sons who, like him, struggle in their London flat to face the unbearable sadness that has engulfed them. Their father imagines a future of well-meaning visitors and emptiness while the boys wander, savaged and unsupervised. And in this moment of violent despair, they are visited by Crow, antagonist, trickster, goad, protector, therapist, and babysitter. And so Crow is basically sent to help them deal with their grief. And it says part novella, part polyphonic fable, part essay on grief. Max Porter's extraordinary debut combines compassion and bravura style to dazzling effect. Full of angular wit and profound truths, Grief is the Thing with Feathers is a startlingly original and haunting debut by a significant new talent. And of course, he's no longer a new talent because he's had many books since then, but everything else I completely agree with. Let's go with a work in translation. We also voted in Brickmakers by Selva Ahmada, and this is translated by Annie McDermott. And this is the story of two families of brickmakers who have for years nursed a mutual hatred for one another. But somehow two teenage sons of these families have fallen in love. I don't know if it sounds at all familiar yet, the kind of overarching premise of the book. But it actually opens with two members of these families lying at the base of a Ferris wheel, dying, I believe because they had some sort of duel or something. So it says it's an almost mythic conflict, one that emerges from stubborn pride and intractable machismo. Selva Ahmada's fierce and tender second novel is an unforgettable portrayal of characters who initially seem to stand in opposition, but are ultimately revealed to be bound by their similarities. All right, let's talk about the other nonfiction book on the list. So we have Ongoingness by Sarah Manguso. This is another very slim book that I have been wanting to read forever. So again, very excited that this was voted in. It says that Manguso continues to define the contours of the contemporary essay as she confronts a meticulous diary that she has kept for 25 years. I wanted to end each day with a record of everything that had ever happened, she explains. But this simple statement belies a terror that she might forget something, that she might miss something important. Maintaining that diary, now 800,000 words, had become, until recently, a kind of spiritual practice. Then Manguso became pregnant and had a child, and these two Copernican events generated an amnesia that put her into a different relationship with the need to document herself amid ongoing time. So excited to read that. And then finally, the book I am most excited to read is a reread. I don't reread books, but I have heard I mentioned rereading Grief is a Thing with Feathers already. Maybe a hint at another project I have going on in May. This book I read several years ago and loved so much that I have dreamed of rereading it for ages. And so now is the time. And that book is She Would Be King by Y.A. Moore. And this is a spectacular blend of history and magical realism that follows three extraordinary characters. Red-haired Bessa is cursed with immortality at birth and lives in exile under suspicion of being a witch. Also, on a plantation in Virginia, June Day hides his unusual strength until a confrontation with the overseer forces him to flee. And in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica, Norman Aragon, child of a white British colonizer and a maroon slave, learns to fade from sight at will. When the three of them meet in the colony of Monrovia, it isn't long before they realize that they are all cursed, or perhaps uniquely gifted. Together, they protect the weak and vulnerable amid rising tensions between the American settlers, French slave traders, and indigenous tribes. Here, Moore reimagines the tumultuous and dramatic story of Liberia, a country whose past and present are inextricably bound to the United States. With great poise and lyricism, she captures the epic excitement of a nation's founding and explores themes of community, loyalty, and the complex ties that bind the African diaspora. And I loved this book so very much when I read it, like I said, and I cannot wait to read it again. So like I mentioned, there are many easy ways to participate in Gray in May. The first and foremost is to simply watch our videos and enjoy and do nothing more than that. But we've come up with a few other ways for folks to maybe participate, easy ways, based on your time and interest and previous experience reading books from Graywolf. So starting in May, we invite you to whatever, if you decide to read any books from Graywolf, to use the hashtag GraywolfMay. And first of all, would love to hear folks share their favorite Graywolf books. So check your shelves for any Graywolf books that you might have already read and loved. We have over on Discord, we have a channel that we're calling Sales Pitch, where we're selling Graywolf books to each other to add to our ever-growing lists of books to read, but that's okay. So either join us on Discord there, or feel free to post a video on YouTube or wherever about Graywolf books that you have loved and that you think other people should read. Also, maybe you haven't read any Graywolf books. In that case, we invite you to just go to their website, check out their catalog, and see if anything jumps out at you that might be something you'd be interested in reading. So there's no commitment required. You just post a list of books that sound interesting to you, that maybe someday you'd get to, or maybe other people would love knowing about. Maybe you do have time to read a Graywolf book in May. Maybe it fits into one of your other reading event activities. I hope to post a video soon about several reading events in May and some Graywolf books that line up with those various reading events. There already are a few actually that I listed today that I think would fit in nicely with other stuff going on in May. If you do read anything from Graywolf in May, we invite you to use the hashtag GraywolfMay. And then finally, if you want to read along with us any of these 5 books, again, you can post about it in social media and or join us over on Discord, where we have a thread for each book and we're going to be chatting about them. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful for your time and attention. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever your plans may be. My name is Sarah, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.